voice is ready to evolve and be heard in a loud society where people feel they have limited choices. We hope to open minds and inspire people. That being said, enjoy the sequel. What is the history of graffiti in South Africa and what's actually created this movement?
The history of graffiti in South Africa, I think, started with a crew called Prophets of the City, it's POC.
Yeah.
One of the forefathers of that was a guy called Khocha. He's still painting today.
Yeah.
He's back and forth from Cape Town and 2 years in Cape Town. That was early 90s that they started, I believe. I wasn't a part of it yet. But yeah, it's been around for, I say, a good 30 years, 35 years in Jozi. Yeah.
Yeah. And what inspired you to get into street art and what motivated you to get into this part?
Well, as a younger kid, like around 12 years old, I had older friends that were doing tags and they were doing throw-ups and that type of thing. And I caught onto it and I started sketching to my own.
Yeah.
When I was 17, I had a few friends that were getting into the graffiti thing, and I caught on there.
Yeah.
So I joined in with them.
Yeah. And how long until you considered this as like your career or something that you want to do full time?
Okay. It was a good 5 years before I could say that I was good enough to do commissions and make some money out of it. I found out pretty soon after I'd started, maybe about 3 or 4 years after I'd started. So just before I perfected the art, I found out that I could make money out of it.
Yeah.
I still had a day job for a few years after that. And then I basically started doing I went into making money every day doing this. I made a living doing it. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man. And did you struggle with regards to like people accepting this? Like, let's say your parents, for example, was it difficult to convince them that this is something that you're passionate about and something that you can actually make a living from and be successful at and actually be somebody doing?
Look, I think initially graffiti itself was frowned upon when I started. So it was still looked down on. People didn't really take to it at all. So initially, yes, everybody did look down on it.
Yeah.
But as soon as people saw and found out that you can actually make a living and actually produce art for people to appreciate, I think then it became more acceptable. And over the years, it's become almost a small industry, a thriving industry that a few of the top artists now live off.
Yeah. And when did that turning point happen? When people actually started accepting it and like graffiti artists actually started earning a living from it, but also their art getting appreciated?
I would say about 2010, 2011, people started taking to the graffiti art. We had more graffiti tours in the actual city. And people were getting hired to do more private commissions, businesses, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I'd say about 2010, 2011. So it's been a good 10, 11 years that there's been an industry where we've been able to make some decent money out of it.
Yeah. And what do you think causes that resistance? Or what do you think caused that resistance? Like, what do you think made people struggle to accept graffiti as an art?
Okay, I think people's perceptions evolved as the artists evolved. Okay, so in the beginning stages, we didn't have that many great artists out there. All right, and as the movement grew and the more artists joined the movement, it became stronger.
And what would you say are some of the misconceptions about graffiti? Because obviously I've spoken to you at length before the interview. about some of the misconceptions. I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people see graffiti as just, people vandalizing and just being rebellious. So, what would you say, like, the misconceptions of graffiti are?
Okay, so generally when anybody first picks up a spray can, they it's either a swear word or some scribble, on a wall.
Yeah,
So your general perception of graffiti is bad.
yeah,
So as we've grown this industry and the artists have got better, I think the perception of it has changed. Now it's more acceptable. So when people see us painting a wall nowadays, they'll stop and say hi or hoot, or
yeah,
in some cases we had people bringing us cash for walls that they have nothing to do with.
yeah,
They'll just stop and be like, "Thank you so much for doing this wall. Here's $500."
yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's changed. It's changed a lot, and I think it's evolved as the artists have gotten better.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you think the rebellious nature of graffiti before this evolution that you spoke about,
Yeah.
do you think the rebellious nature of it came from not having that acceptance, maybe by people like the fine arts community, for example? Do you think that's where the rebellion stems from?
I think graffiti and the rebellion kind of go hand in hand in the beginning stages, because every graffiti artist initially wants to get their name in as many places as they can.
Yeah,
And the way they go about it in the beginning of their careers, their graffiti careers, is not the way they would go about it as an older writer. They'll do it by any means possible on any surface, regardless of where it is, who it is that owns the establishment.
yeah,
But as they grow, I think graffiti artists want to get more out of their cans and their time and
yeah,
their money. So they start doing stuff that they can appreciate and everybody else can appreciate.
yeah,
And I think that's where the change comes from the rebellious side to an actual artist, and they become an actual, I would say, a known artist. Doing scribbles on the corners and
yeah,
that type of thing is not the greatest. The tags don't last, which means you're just wasting your money. And eventually,
yeah,
they do realize that.
yeah, yeah,
They do realize it's just a waste of money.
yeah. And what are some of the rebellious things you'd say you used to do as a young writer? And what's maybe the craziest story you have, maybe with law enforcement or
Okay, so I've got quite a few crazy stories. So I was a part of probably the craziest train story that South Africa has to tell.
yeah, yeah,
One of the guys got shot in the leg by the security guards. Well, the train security guards. So before this, the worst that happened was, I think a can got shot in the guy's hand, and it exploded all over him.
yeah,
So that's the closest they had come until this story. So, anyways, we were in Braamfontein Yard here in Joburg. I was with the first crew that went into the yard. All right, we had scouts and all that out. They were all watching. Anyways, there was 5 or 6 of us in the yard, and then another crew had arrived. Okay, and there's a bridge over the yard, and they were all watching over the bridge.
yeah,
And that got the guards' attention. Now, our scouts didn't see that. We saw that painting. We saw the guys at the top of the bridge, and we were trying to tell them, look, get down, type of thing. Anyways, it got the guards' attention. First off, to my left, a guy walked past. We didn't pick him up. Like, I only picked him up as he was close to me. I got spooked.
yeah,
Carried on painting. We were doing 3 carriages. So there was 4 guys on the first 2 carriages and 1 on the last. So there's quite a few of us in the first group. Our scouts saw 3 guards come around the front of the train, and they split down the tracks.
yeah,
And as they split down the tracks, they opened fire. All right, so we managed to scatter out. We got underneath the fence, all of us.
yeah,
We got out of their property. up the stairs, up onto the bridge where we found the other crew.
Yeah.
Right, and now we started giving them trouble now because they had given us. I mean,
They sold you out basically.
yeah, they sold us out because they were playing the fool at the top of the bridge.
Yeah.
When the security was scouting and they saw them, so they came to look, and that's what got their attention. Anyways, we got on top of the bridge, and these security guards basically ambushed us from both sides of the bridge. Two of the guys jumped onto the highway and ran through oncoming traffic. And I think there was like 6 of us that stayed and got like beaten, so they started beating us on the bridge. And while that was all happening, one of them took out their gun, their piece or whatever, and pulled it right here up on my head and shot here, like, so it was here in front of, like, right next to me that the gun went off.
Crazy.
So, anyways, Koz, a well-known writer in South Africa, got shot in the leg. He didn't realize it at first because everybody stopped scuffling.
Yeah.
When the gunshot went off, and I was like, "Whoa, what's like? Is everybody all right?" He was like, "No, I'm fine." Not even a minute later, he was like, "Whoa, hold on, my leg." So, anyways, carried him down the stairs. We all got like basically arrested. They let 4 of us go and took 2 of us to John Foster Square for the night, and that was me and another writer.
Yeah.
It had to be me. But charges were dropped in the morning because they had shot him outside of their property, and luckily, Koz's family actually own a law firm in Cape Town, so they hammered them.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, they hammered Metro Rail for that. So.
Yeah, and then would you say that's like would you say that's the most rebellious place that you've tried to do art in?
I think nothing's gonna sum up to any of the train yards that we've hit. Okay, I didn't get away with as much as I got away with in Pretoria. I got away with a lot of trains in Pretoria.
Yeah.
But train yards are dangerous. I mean, we got shot at Randfontein. We got shot at Braamfontein. We got shot at Germiston. Guys got caught and chased plenty in Pretoria as well. So there's quite a few stories, and these guys are trigger happy. They don't play. They're not there because they think that you're there to steal cable and to steal off the train. So they come out guns blazing. They literally come around the corner, cocked and loaded, and they're just opening up. Yeah. They don't even.
That's crazy. So what would you say, like, as a young writer, right? Obviously, the younger you are, the more rebellious you are.
Sure.
As you said. So would you say that adrenaline rush and maybe doing art in a place that's very risky to do, would you say that gives you more respect in the graffiti world? Or what is it that motivates you to go back, even though you know that, doing that might put you in danger, could potentially end your life as well? So what makes you keep going back, even though you know that?
Okay, so I think it's definitely like number one is definitely the respect and the it gives you an ego boost, and that doesn't last. And that's why I would say the younger guys are more rebellious. I was doing trains and panels when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I realized like this is not actually worth my life. As much as I'd love to do trains and I'd love for millions and millions of people to see my work every single day, I would love that. It's just not worth it, it's just not worth it at all.
Yeah. And when did you say that penny drops? It just comes with age naturally, or?
I think at the time and the crew that I was in, trains were a big thing.
Excuse me. Yeah.
But it kind of fell out because we were all kind of following one crazy guy, one crazy writer.
Yeah.
I didn't learn from him. I followed him and I picked up the different skills from him. So I wouldn't say he taught me, but I was around him enough to learn what I needed to learn. And it was his perception that trains were the thing.
Yeah.
And we kind of all got sold into that. And as soon as I saw that, I'm for you and you're not for me with him, like I was, like on his team, but he wasn't on my side, So I saw that and I kind of pulled away and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go my own way and I'll be better than you
Mm.
in the long run.
Yeah.
And I am.
Mm.
I'm way better than that now.
Yeah.
So, you know what, like, I appreciate him. And I'll always say that he schooled me and I'll give him that respect anytime. But that's about as far as it goes, Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't follow that guy anymore. Like none of the people that were around him follow him anymore. He's a bit of a crazy wild card. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And in a book I was reading recently, they covered or they highlighted a big section about Leonardo da Vinci and how he was isolated in his town or in his community or the art community in that town. So I think graffiti artists probably felt like that as well, based on your explanations about the fine art community and community as a society as a whole, in terms of how they observe graffiti.
Yes, yes, definitely,
But
man.
would you say that you have any inspiration from the fine art community? And do you
Uh,
tap into any history about art? Are you inspired by any different types of art besides graffiti when it comes to your work?
okay, so when it comes to like actual artists, like fine artists that have been, that are great, that the art greats, I can't say I pull any inspiration from any of that
Yeah.
at all. I pull inspiration from my peers. My peers are my biggest inspiration because then, like, I know where I'm at my game. So
Mm.
I'll look to guys that are just as good as me and see what they're doing
Yeah.
and make sure I'm on top of my game and just yeah, make sure my game is on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any modern day graffiti artist takes any inspiration from those type of fine artists. But I have seen some great artists, some great graffiti artists change into fine artists that are just as good as those names now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Faith is one of them, and she's from yeah, and she does buildings around the world that are fine art buildings that are. I mean, she started with graffiti, you know, and now the stuff that she does is world class. Like for me personally, like I can put her on that stage of Da Vinci, and I wouldn't say that well known, but the type of art and the effect that it has on you when you standing in front of it, I can definitely say she ranks with the tops that the world has ever had.
Yeah.
For me personally, with what I get, from looking at her art,
Yeah.
and like I'm proud that she's from South Africa. I've met her like once or twice. She's called me for a few commissions, but nothing big. But her art is definitely world class.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
mad.
world class.
And obviously you're in a different stage of your life now.
Yeah.
You operate differently when it comes to your craft. So how does graffiti work in terms of you doing work in the inner cities now, for example? How does that work in terms of authorization, where you're allowed to do the art?
Okay, so yeah, in Joburg, we kind of do what we want. So if it's a government owned wall or space, we will generally try to just rock up on a Sunday and get away with it, and we generally do. If there's a problem, we ask to leave or just to prime over it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we have spots and areas that we can go to and just troll. And if we find a wall, we'll stop and ask for permission. So we'll show our work. We'll find a wall that's a bit run down, chat to the owner, show our work, and then generally we get permission.
Yeah.
So that's our general MO these days is we just go and ask for permission because there is so many rundown places here
Yeah.
in Joburg. Cape Town is a little bit more different. So DA obviously took over Cape Town,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Cape Town was the graffiti mecca of South Africa. It had the most. DA took over and just shut it down completely. Now you have to get council permission to even do a commission for somebody on their boundary wall.
Wow.
So let alone graffiti. If you have a business and you want me to do your branding outside on your boundary wall, you have to get council permission for that to happen. It can't just happen. So I believe there's a 250,000 rand fine or 3 years in prison if you get caught doing graffiti without that permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's become quite seriously, but it's become quite serious. But Cape Town was heavily run down with graffiti, so they were just going wild there, and it looked bad.
Yeah.
You know, they were just
Going
yeah,
crazy.
they were just going crazy. So I do think curbing it a bit has helped a lot, which also keeps away a lot of your writers that are going to just make destruction, that are going to just pollute the area with stuff that's not art, you know.
Yeah.
Now the better guys have a chance to do their work. You know, I see it happening more and more now in Cape Town, but it still hasn't come back to its
Yeah.
original state. Yeah, no, I don't think it ever will get
Yeah.
that full of graffiti again.
Yeah. And what are the contrasts between graffiti culture in different cities in South Africa, would you say?
Yeah, there's big contrasts. Look, there's not too much of a like I don't know about cultures in the smaller cities. Durban's got a small culture. They pretty cool guys. I'm friends with most of them.
Yeah.
Have been in the past as well. Yeah, in Joburg, also easygoing but defensive. You know, and then when it gets to Cape Town, guys are just on defense.
Yeah.
So everybody's for themselves. They can't work as a crew or as a team. That's what I found these days. You know, that's happening. In the past, Cape Town had the biggest crews that were all jamming together. Now it's Joburg. Yeah, I see Cape Town as a bit of a everybody's out for themselves now.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say is the competitive nature of graffiti on an individual perspective and a crew perspective?
Okay, so every time we paint, every single time we paint, doesn't matter if you're with your best friend or whoever, the guys in your crew, it doesn't matter. It's always a competition. So every time, even a Sunday when you're gonna go paint with your guys or whatever, it's a competition. It doesn't matter. Like, so whether you're battling or just a friendly paint on a Sunday,
Yeah.
you're painting to beat the next guy. That is what's got us to where we are right now. Is that friendly competitiveness? You know, you got to have that between you two. Otherwise, you're gonna get nowhere.
Yeah.
I think that's a major part. It plays a major part. That little bit of competitiveness, I think that's also what gets us going. That's what gets us up, because we know we're gonna face that guy today.
Yeah,
He's gonna paint next to you, and you got to come with something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna look like a fool.
Exactly.
So you got to plan. You got to sketch. You got to get all your colors ready. You got to have all your nozzles ready. You got to have your transport ready. Your lunch. It's got to come down to all of that, because if you're sitting at the wall hungry, you're not going to perform properly. If you're sitting at the wall with no water and you're getting thirsty, you're not going to perform properly.
Yeah.
If all your boxes are ticked, you deliver. But yeah, no, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
Very, very.
And what does that look like, a battle? Whether that's a crew battle or an individual battle, what would something like that look like? Obviously, we know hip hop battles work in a certain way, dance battles work in a certain way, but in terms of street art culture, how does that look?
Okay, a real battle works like this. Basically, they put letters in a hat, and you choose 3 or 4 letters. So you're not choosing letters that you generally do all the time.
Yeah.
You're just choosing some. You know, it could be anything. It doesn't even make up a word.
Yeah.
And then you got to style those letters in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of paint. And that's generally what a real battle looks like. So how the battles go down these days is they'll have a space for everybody. They'll tell them, all right, this is the concept. Here's a theme or concept. Here's your paint. Bring as much paint as you have. We're going to give you some paint. And what you pull off on the day is what you pull off on the day. So there's no real criteria or anything. So that, for me, it's not a real battle.
Mm.
It's not in a real street battle because I can do what I do all the time,
Yeah.
and it's gonna burn the next guy. But I'm doing that repetitively, so I know it like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
So drawing four letters out of a hat, that's a real battle.
Mm.
So you don't know what you're gonna end up with. If your name is ABC and you end up with XYZ, now you got to pull off a style XYZ, but all you've been doing is ABC.
Yeah.
It's gonna show.
Mm.
So that's what a real battle is like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how a real battle happens, man.
And you spoke about how when you're a younger writer, there's certain rebellious things that you do that maybe give you an ego and you feel like maybe it will give you some respect. But obviously, within the culture itself, people respect you for the detail in your art,
Sure.
not just the rebellion.
Yeah.
So, what would you say are the things that maybe enhance your reputation in the world of street art?
Okay. What I'm personally known for,
Mm.
and what I've always been known for, is clean lines.
Yeah.
So I'm the cleanest. Like people know it across the board in South Africa. I'm one of the cleanest in the game.
Yeah.
I've got steady long lines. My hands very steady, and my fill. So my color use is always crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm known for, bro. Yeah.
So, and how much money does it actually take to, I wouldn't say perfect, but grow within this culture?
Look, it's an expensive sport, I'm not gonna lie, it is expensive, but if you good enough to do commissions, then what we do is we roll off the commissions. So if our time is taken up by commissions, let's say we do 2 commissions every week for a month. All right, so that's 8 commissions in a month. The leftover of that paint is what we put onto the streets. So the commissions are paying for the street paint. So we're not actually using our own money to pay for our street work. You see, so the aim is to try and get as many commissions and roll them so that you've always got paint stocks at home.
Yeah.
You see, so whenever there's a paint mission, like a street paint mission, you can just grab. You see, so but otherwise, it is very expensive. It took me 5 years to perfect, like to get to a place where I could say that I could use the spray can, and it was expensive, very expensive.
Yeah.
If you want to perfect anything, I think it's going to be costly with time and money. Yeah, spray's always been expensive, man. It's always been expensive. When I started, we were buying from a factory in Wynberg, and that was Spray On. That's a South African brand. I was paying 8 rand a can, 12 rand a can.
Yeah.
Now we're painting with German and Spanish paint, and it's anywhere from 85 to 110
Yeah.
per can. And then you still got to buy nozzles now. So back then, for the spray on cans, we used to go to shops and steal deodorant caps and Mr. Mins and Domestos.
Yeah.
Because those are the caps that worked on South African cans. And until we got the imports, that's what we were using and doing. But the imports are a lot easier to use. You get more of a wider range of colors. It lasts longer. And definitely more expensive.
And where would you say South Africa's ranked in terms of graffiti globally?
Look, for a long time we didn't rank. There was a few guys. Well, let me start that again. There's always been a small handful of guys that have ranked in the world, definitely top in the world. Right now, we have one of the strongest writers in the world that doesn't really paint, Graffiti. He's a tattoo artist now.
Yeah.
He paints now and then. But personally, I think he's probably one of top 10 in the world. So just him alone makes us very strong. But I think our scene now in like 2022, we definitely rank top 5 in the world. We got some of the best writers in the world now. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are the countries that are ahead of us?
Germany's definitely ahead of us.
Mm.
Um, the UK. Um, where else? I think like across Europe, you're gonna find those are your countries where you're gonna find like the best writers. America has got a few big names as well. So I would say Europe and America, but anywhere else, it's the far and few in between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So America and across Europe is where your best artist will be.
yeah. And a moment ago, you spoke about crews.
Yes.
So in the graffiti world, how is a crew assembled? And if you are an individual, maybe with a lot of talent that's looking for a community or a crew that you'd like to belong to, how would you then be indoctrinated or initiated to be accepted in a crew?
Okay, so crews are generally started so they can get their names up more, all right? Because you're feeding off of each other's energy. Uh, so generally, they'll have one common goal to put up one name, as a team, and in as many places as they can, along with their names. Um, and that's generally why they start. It's a group of friends. They want to get a name up, and they go at it. They try and put that up as many places as they can. And what was the other question? Sorry.
So I was saying, as an individual, if how is a crew set up, number one, and as
Okay.
an individual, if you'd like to join a crew, if you're looking for,
Okay. So the best way to join a crew is to make yourself present. Is to make yourself known. So make a make a make an entrance to the scene. So the best way to do that is to get your name up, put the time in, as much as you can, and get up put your name in as many places as you can so that people see it. Then they'll know, okay, you're serious about it. And crews out there will watch your work and watch your progress. And as soon as they see that, okay, they feel that you're good enough or you're going somewhere, they will come and approach you. They will approach you. So the best way is to make a noise.
yeah,
Be loud about it. Yeah, get a controversial name. Do the wildest tags. Get it in those craziest spots. Like rooftops, all those type of things. That's who you want to be. You want to be that guy that's out at night, that's tagging the corners. That's if you want to get in a crew and be
yeah,
known, you got to be loud about it. That's the only way to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, we've got two kids in the scene that just like burst onto the scene now, Trap and Pat. All right, their stuff is not the best, but they're not bad for the amount of time they've been painting. But the attitude towards it is they're everywhere.
yeah,
Yeah, they're just going. So it's like every free bit of time that they've got, they're painting. Every weekend, they're painting. There's always a mission. They're painting. Whether it's so as a younger writer, you don't mind painting with any colors. Like you're gonna make anything do. As an older writer, you're more set. Okay, this is the colors I'm gonna have. This has got to work like this. This has got to work. These guys are running around with anything. They don't mind as long as they're putting their name up, and that's the attitude you have to have. That they're being loud about it. It was not even a year, and they'd already been approached by older writers, and they're in a crew now. But they were loud about it.
yeah, yeah,
You see, they were very loud about it. They didn't hold back at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
And your crew is, of course, the top two crew.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? What's the symbolism and the meaning behind the name?
All right. So basically, for the last 8 years, I ran a crew called MHC. All right. So when I founded, it wasn't really much of a crew. The guys were just dabbling with it, and then I kind of called a meeting with the existing players at the time, and I said to them that I'm going to take over and join other writers in it, and we will make it something. We did. We made it the biggest crew in the country, and we were the most up crew in the country. So we had the most work everywhere. Like we were all over the show. Last year we came to an end. We decided to go our own ways, and myself and another player in the crew, Drake, we were tight, and we weren't gonna separate. So, in our own opinions, we were the top two of that crew, and we named our tattoo store Top to Bottom. So it kind of made sense for us to make something catchy, and as soon as we had put a lot of time into MHC, a lot of time and effort into it, and we kind of felt robbed when we all had to just walk our own way. So we joined up and we said, we're still going to carry on, and yeah, it's top two,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's been around for not very long, but we've made a decent
Yeah.
dent. I mean, people know who we are.
Mm.
Um, I'd like to have a lot more top two stuff around. But yeah, in time, eh? In
Yeah.
time it happens.
And how many members do you guys have since you guys
So it's
started
only-
it? It's just the two of you.
So it's only top two, and it's only gonna stay top two.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna stay two of us because we don't. I mean, like in a bigger crew, there's almost like you have not rules, but there's kind of standards. Like people, like guys. In order for the crew to be up and relevant, everybody's got to paint a certain amount of times a month. So to get everybody to paint 3 times a month or more, and you've got 9 or 10 players in the crew, it's quite tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While you've got guys that are constant there all the time, they're putting the name out, then you've got a constant guy that's not there all the time and he's writing your name.
Yeah.
I'm in MHC. Meantime, you're doing the work. So we're free to join other crews if we want, but I think we have a good understanding between each other that we will, we're going to do this together. We paint with whoever we want. There's no like you have to paint 3 times a month or any standards we have to uphold. We know we're pushing all the time because we're painting every day anyways. So whether it be commission or street, we're doing some sort of art every day,
Yeah.
So there's no real standards to uphold there because we're doing it ourselves anyways.
Yeah.
We don't have to check on each other. This guy's writing this one's fame. This guy's writing this one's work. No.
And is obviously you spoke about how you have to be loud and get people to notice you if you want to join a crew or get some sort of attention from a crew. But is the style of graffiti that you do also an important factor with regards to?
I think style is definitely a factor. If there's potential, people will see it regardless of your style. But style is definitely a factor. We used to have a lot of wild style writers in South Africa, and now I think it's changing with the times as graffiti is changing worldwide. I can't call it wild style. I just think we've evolved to today's type of art, graffiti or street art.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man. And the certain terminology that you used when you were speaking earlier and you spoke about tagging, for example. I've heard terms like bombing as well.
Okay.
So for just in the most basic form,
Sure.
for someone who doesn't necessarily understand graffiti, what are the various different terms of graffiti? What do they mean? And, how can you describe growing in the craft from the most basic to maybe a more advanced level?
Okay, so I don't think you ever grow out of doing. So I'm gonna give you the different terminologies first, I think, and then we can go into what you asked. First of all, marker tag is writing your alias with a marker. I think let me start here. The whole direction of graffiti is to actually get your alias in as many places as you want, as you can. All right. So it starts with markers, progresses to stickers, then goes to spray cans, and then you start doing like huge art pieces. Okay, the different terminologies. Mark tag, obviously a marker signature, or you're putting your alias up with a marker, and then a tag is your alias with the spray can. So that's just a signature, just as someone would sign their signature. A throw up is a quick a quick version of your name, of your alias. So it will be a one color with an outline. All right, so it's as fast as you can. So a throw up is the same as a bomb. It's done as fast as you can, and it's just to get your illegible name up. It's not in any way artsy, or it's just a quick scribble. And then you got a piece, which is where they'll go out for a day and they'll find a wall, take their time, do all the colors. And that's where you get all your characters and that type of thing. That's also what we call a production. And then you get a mural, which is a bigger or larger wall. That's your larger production walls.
Yeah.
I think the correct process would be to start with marker tags and then upgrade. But it starts anywhere, and it doesn't matter if you 20 years in, they still go back to marker tags. They'll still go have a quick stroll down the street and do a few marker tags just to get that. It's definitely gets your blood going, that little bit of like energy, that good burst of energy. It's for graffiti artists, it's fun. That's
Yeah.
that's what we thrive for. So it doesn't matter whether you're starting or you're at the top of the game. You'll still go back down and use a marker or do stickers, or do a tag on the corner of the street. Go out tonight, do a few tags. So I don't think once you 20 years down the line, you're not gonna use those mediums anymore. I think we use them across the board, So I think it just gets better as you go.
Yeah.
So the marker tags get better, the stickers get better, the bombing tags get better. That's people like to see your tags. Because now they're done with style and flair, and the way that you use the can also makes a huge difference. How you've learned to use it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think people like seeing different tags. I mean, Taps is famous for his tags, just tags. People see Taps tags everywhere.
Yeah.
They've got shirts out. Who's Taps? People are saying that they haven't even asked him. They're printing shirts. Who's Taps? And they're selling them at stores.
Now he is all over the place.
Sure.
Even if you don't want to notice him, you'll notice him.
Yeah, you'll notice him. I mean, just general people ask, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you say graffiti or street art culture blends and basically, I wouldn't want to say collaborate, but how would you say it's intertwined with other urban culture like hip hop, like fashion, like?
Look, the younger generation that are coming in now are very different to what the older heads are. The older hip hop heads. They're very, I would say, like in the direction of this trap, like the new age hip hop. Very like colorful and flashy, and I don't know, thrifty but modern. I don't know what to call it. It's very different from like the big hoodies, big jeans, baggy. Very, very different to what I grew up to. Fashion. I don't think there's too much fashion in the graffiti game, but you said hip hop, eh?
Yeah. Hip hop and just urban culture in general.
Look, I mean, we're an element of hip hop, and we do play a big part here in South Africa. Where there is a big hip hop gathering, like Back to the City, like the graffiti side of it is always huge. There's plenty of people interviewing us. The artists are always getting huge opportunities by different companies. So I think we are definitely a part of the hip hop culture. I just think it's at a bit of a lull now because of the COVID. Yeah, so graffiti is there. It could be bigger though.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could definitely be bigger. Yeah.
And what do you think is the future of graffiti? I mean, we're in a ever evolving world where a lot of things are going digital as well. So, what do you think the future is of graffiti from a digital perspective?
I think that's we're in a bit of a lucky position at the moment here in South Africa as a whole, because yes we do have that modern side to it, but I think your general population hasn't moved onto that modern side of living yet, and I still think that graffiti murals and art will still give you a look and feel in a place that digital won't. So if you're gonna go to a restaurant and there's some amazing art there, it definitely makes a world of difference in comparison to a flat wall. Um, I definitely think it makes a world of difference, man.
Yeah. And just to close off, what other creative endeavors are you pursuing besides graffiti? You spoke about tattooing early on. So, what other creative endeavors do you pursue?
Okay, so recently, I'd say about a year and a half ago, I got into the tattooing game. My partner Drake has been tattooing for about 6 years now. He's been pushing me to get into the whole thing. I eventually took the plunge, dropped a whole lot of cash, got it all together. We now have a studio in London that we run. It's a bookings only studio. It's called Top to Bottom. Yeah, things are going well. I seem to be cracking the tattoo side of things, even though I haven't done an apprenticeship. I've got a few friends that have worked themselves into decent spots with the tattoo game in the UK that I've got a few tips from. Some important tips that they gave me, and it's helped a lot. Yeah, other than that, I've got Drake next to me showing me the ropes, and things have been going well, man. Things have been going well, yeah.
Yeah. And
Tattoos.
what's that transition like, going from doing graffiti to now doing artwork on somebody's body?
It's a massive transition, like a scary one, stressful, definitely stressful. I mean, you don't want to mess up a piece that's on somebody forever. Um, it's been pretty tough, but for me, I'm grateful for the fact that I don't have to do tattoos every day, so that every time I do tattoo, I can go away and take away from it and learn and process what I've learned that day. I feel that if you're doing it every day, I kind of get it's kind of like you don't get time to process what you've taken in because you're on to the next thing already. So you kind of forget what you've learned. Not even seeing that, you're forgetting. You don't even see that. It's just because you stacked up with the next tattoo and the next client and the next thing you have to deal with instead of processing. So I'm grateful to be able to have two different incomes at the moment with the graffiti and the tattoos, because I can go away from the tattoo side and process what I've done. And I think ultimately, in the end, that's going to make me a better tattoo artist because I can process what's happened, on that day, as opposed to doing it every day and not really figuring out, hey, listen, I learned that, or oh, this is how you do that. If you're too busy, you just don't see those things every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's dope, man. And just before you go,
cool.
is there anything you'd like the listeners to know, business wise, where they can find you? The rest.
Yeah, you can find us on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, It's at Graphworks or at Riot underscore Top2, and then it's at Top to Bottom Tattoos. Yeah, give us a shout if you need any ink, or if you need any spaces beautified. Yeah, just give us a shout.
That
Cool,
I'm
man.
blessed, man.
Thank you very much.